Hey everyone, this is Paper Life, and in today's Toy Dojo sponsor review, we'll be taking a look at DX9's D03 Invisible, their version of Mirage from the Autobots, and their third in their series of figures. So let's go ahead and start with packaging review. And this packaging looks really amazing. As you can see, it's a nice blue color, has a great image of their Invisible on the front, has kind of a retro styling with all these gears and dials and everything on that, reminiscent of a car, I suppose. On the top you get Invisible, Inner Dream, and Turtle Hobby. I guess that's the catchline of DX9. Down at the bottom, just some warnings and some information about finding them on Weibo. On the side here, you just get some images of his weapons. He has his gun, some energon cubes, I suppose, or his invisible cube. We have his shoulder launcher, and then just kind of a, I don't know, kind of a line art, internal schematic almost of Invisible. On this side, we have 1979, and this, I had to look up, is Jacques Lafitte, who was a Formula 1 driver who drove, I guess, Mirage's alt mode. No idea who this dancing lady is. I apologize for all the races out there. Some kind of trophy, which, again, I'm sure somebody will point out what this actually means. And I apologize in advance since I'm not a car guy, let alone a Formula 1 guy. So, again, another shot of their Inner Dream Eternal Hobby quote. It says, "Our integrity sells for so little, but is still all we really have. It is the very last inch of us, but within that inch we are free." And I don't know who that quote is. I should have, I guess, Googled that as well. But again, more images of the alt mode, and then just some, again, saying, disclaimer that the images are representative and may be different than what the actual figure looks like. But yeah, that's it. It's a very high quality box. I really like it. So let's go ahead and open this guy up. So here we have Invisible out of his box, and he comes in a clamshell. This clamshell is actually quite nice in the sense that this black plastic here seems a bit sturdier or thicker than what I've been used to from, you know, Takara Tomy or even other third-party companies. So you open that up, and yeah, like I said, this feels really sturdy. Get him out, and then we can pull the weapons out, fly everywhere. We'll get into those in a bit. And while we're talking about what's included, he also comes with a little baggie with his instructions and card. The card is a nice hard plastic, not like the cardboard that we get with Takara Tomy, but what we're more familiar with other third-party companies. So nice and thick. It does say DX9 D03. I don't know if it's an I for Invisible or 1. I'm not really sure, actually. But again, on the back, the same thing with some tech specs and a pic of his robot and a little bit of his alt mode in the background. So very nice in terms of cards. His instructions come on one large sheet, which go from robot to alt mode, and that's all it shows. It doesn't really show any accessories or anything like that, other than how to install it in alt mode. I'm a little disappointed that since they have all the space on the back, they didn't do the reverse. I know they don't always show both ways, but it would have been nice. Also, the instructions, while they're pretty decent, they miss some key steps that could actually go about damaging your figure if you try to follow them religiously. But let's go ahead and worry about that later. And I'll talk to those pieces once we get closer to them. So here we have Invisible in robot mode. Let's really quickly go through his accessories. So this is his handgun, which is a nice silver, very close in color to what we've seen from the Masterpiece line. It's actually really quite nice. The only difference that you might notice is that there are no pegs on the hands here. or the handles, so you can actually just slide this straight in. You don't have, there's no pegs on the inside of Invisible's hand, or slots inside of Invisible's hands where you need to kind of rotate it in. So you'll either like that or not, but it's actually very, very sturdy and a really nice friction hold, so I don't really find it necessary to have those pegs on the side. The other thing that we'll look at in terms of weaponry is this shoulder cannon, and again, very similar to what we've seen from the Masterpiece line, official Masterpiece line, in that it uses the same kind of square, rectangular peg that goes into a rectangular slot on either shoulder. I always imagine or remember Mirage having it on his right shoulder, so I'm going to do that. I think it's a little long, but not too terrible. So now that we have him in robot mode, let's go ahead and do a quick 360. So front, side, back. Back is where it gets a little bit iffier. You see a lot of hollow pieces. The forearms here, and you can see the ball joint. The back, where I guess the driver would normally sit, is a little bit filled in with part of the fender. And then the legs are decently blocked off. The hollowness is decently blocked out by this leg panel, but you can still see inside there. The other side, and back to the front. But overall, he looks quite good. I really like him. He looks very much like Mirage that I would have imagined, and for a Masterpiece take, I think he does fit in quite well, and we'll show some comparisons with other Masterpiece figures. But let's go ahead and zoom in on his head sculpt. And I think this is probably where I think he suffers the most in terms of likeness to what at least I remember Mirage looking like. This doesn't really look to me like either his robot, either his cartoon, or his toy mode for that matter. I mean, it just doesn't look like Mirage to me. And even if you look at it from the side, I feel like his chin protrudes a lot more than I would think Mirage's would. Also looks a little small, and I think one of the things that I noticed the most is that I feel like his head is just sitting with no neck. I kind of wish it had a neck there and maybe a slightly bigger head. I think that would have had me won over more. But overall, I mean, he still has nice painted eyes. I think they're trying to do a melding of the cartoon and toy, but it's somewhere in the middle. I can see why a lot of companies kind of survive off of, third-party companies survive off of just making alternate heads, because it's not exactly what I want, and I would probably pay money to get a more accurate cartoon head. But let's go on to articulation. So his head, I don't think it's on a ball joint. I'm not. Actually, it has to be on a ball joint because he can do the bobble. He gets a little bit up, not much down. His head is also on like a small panel, which hinges a little bit, which gives you a little bit more. So he doesn't really get any down. You can force it a little bit more with that panel, but that's mostly for transformation. As far as his shoulders go, he has a great range of motion. He can hit himself in the head with his shoulder piece here. He can go 360, except for the fact that he runs into his tires. So if you get those out of the way, you can get 360 there. Again, nice range of motion out. He does have a bicep swivel. Does have double jointed elbows for transformation purposes. And due to the hollowness of his forearms, you can also see that he has a ball jointed fist. Probably not completely necessary for him to be ball jointed. It could have just been a post, but since that's what they're using to flip it in instead of like a panel, that's why they made it a ball joint. Disappointed that they didn't put a panel here. I find that really unforgivable, especially for a Masterpiece figure. Bumblebee did it, but Bumblebee was also way smaller than Mirage. Any other figure this large, I feel like they should have done the panel. Let's see what else we have talked about. Oh, so the hand, we talked about the hand on the wrist, but he does have one pinned joint on the hand for all fingers. No articulation on the thumb. Coming around to the main body, he does have 360 waist articulation, but that's mostly for transformation. You can see that it's an off-centered waist joint for transformation purposes, so that once you start going to the side, it just starts looking a kind of odd. As far as his legs go, they're on those kind of universal joints that we've seen with a lot of Masterpiece figures, so you get that great range of motion forward and back. The back is restricted by a part of his hip, but if you get the leg out wide enough, you can still go rotate back. Same thing going forward, you have this hip plate, but still a great range of motion. You get that swivel at the upper thigh. You do have double jointed knees, which are mostly used for transformation. His foot is on a hinge here, so it does give you some inward pivot. And a little bit, I mean, it'd be hard to say that this is actually outward pivoting. He does have some toe articulation, again, for transformation purposes. And I think that's about it for articulation in robot mode. But overall, I'm really quite happy with how this guy turned out. I was debating on whether I wanted to get him, if I wanted to hold off and see, because I know Mastermind Creations were planning one of their own. I really like MMC, but I ended up picking this guy up just because DX9 and Unique Toys have done a really good job recently, and I didn't want to wait. And if MMC does one, I'll probably go ahead and pick them up and do a comparison. There's also rumors that Takara Tomy are going to do their own as well. One thing I will note is that his heels, I'm not sure, because this is how he came out of the box for me, and he doesn't have much in the way of heels, but a lot of people are opening up this panel and rotating this down just a little bit. This little hinge where the wheels are on, and rotating that down a little bit, and that kind of brings the wheel down slightly and tightens it, and that definitely gives you a more robust heel, or any kind of heel, really. And I don't know if that's official. It doesn't really show that in the instructions at all, but it's definitely what you should do if you want to get more stability out of this guy. And again, you can make use of the toe articulation, foot articulation, or I guess ankle, to get it to kind of stand flat. Okay, so let's go ahead and do a quick set of comparisons with some Masterpiece figures, since that's where they're kind of marketing this guy as. So one of the more recent Masterpiece figures was Wheeljack, and they stand basically head to head from what I can tell. I guess I should close the legs to be a little bit more accurate. But yeah, they stand about head to head. And from what I can see from the the holy scale chart, this is probably where he's supposed to be. I do think he's a little skinnier than I would have imagined, but given that his alt mode is a Formula 1 racer, there's not a lot of mass to work with, so I can get over that. I always pictured Mirage being a little bit taller, but again, I checked the scale chart and he's supposed to be about head to head with Wheeljack. And of course, we'll bring in MP10, who is the scale for this guy, for the Masterpiece line. So this looks about right as well. Again, I always think the figure should be a little bit taller, maybe to around this size. I would always be happier if the Masterpiece cars were around that height. But again, this is a scale that they chose, and I'm sure they're much more accurate in how they represent Takara Tomy designs them than just the way I would prefer them or remember them. Okay, so with that, let's go ahead and get into transformation. So to get this guy in alt mode, there are a few things that you need to be careful of, just so you don't like damage your figure. And again, the instructions do a decent job, but they skip over some parts as well. So the first thing I'm going to do is go ahead and turn this guy around and rotate the piston, like so. And then the next part I'm going to do is pull up on the chest. So you pull that up, and the head also goes back in here. Okay. And then you're going to go ahead and split these fenders so that they come out. Next, what we're going to do is rotate the entire shoulder piece, like so. Then you can rotate these wheels forward. There's actually a little slot here that has a corresponding peg in the front, so you might have to play around with both the blue and black pieces just to make sure that it sits in correctly, but you'll feel it for sure. There we go, and you can hear it as well. Okay, from here I'm going to go rotate the arms down and rotate. This is what they failed to show. You have to rotate the forearms or the bicep in 90 degrees because you're going to need to bend this way. Next, we can go ahead and deal with these little pieces, the kind of obliques that we saw in robot mode. They're on double hinges. You want to rotate them around and store them like so. So again, rotate this around a bit, swing it up and in, and just as long as they're in there, it'll be fine. Next, we'll go ahead and pull this up because it does kind of hold the abs down. It's not really a tab, but just pull this up, close it, and then rotate 180 at the waist. Now this is where you're gonna go ahead and you're gonna want to. I'm gonna do this a very specific way. I'm gonna show you both sides while I do this. So the way that I do this to avoid any kind of damage is to rotate here first, and then rotate up on the arm, and then you can rotate using the double jointed elbows. Rotate that up, and there's a tab here on the blue piece that has a corresponding slot on the white forearm. And you do that, and you can line up the pieces here. So on this side, I'll show you why I do it that way. So if you were to just go ahead and try to rotate this down, you're gonna have some interference here. You could probably get around it by doing some turns or something like that. But again, the way I do it is you rotate at the shoulder down first, and then you pull it down. And then you can see that gives you just enough clearance. Again, here, you probably wanna rotate the forearm just a little bit, just because one's already in. The first one, you don't have to worry about that, but once you have one in there, it's kind of hard to get the other one in straight. So go ahead and rotate that in. Again, feel out that tab that in, and then you can squeeze the blue piece to get them together. All right. So these two tabs here are actually going to form a single tab that you're going to use to tab into this section of the crotch. So you're going to rotate the entire hip assembly down 180 degrees. And again, make sure that these two arm pieces are tabbed together because it is a pretty tight tab. You're just going to want to apply pressure. There we go. And then it's tabbed in very, very securely. Dealing with the bottom half, we're going to go ahead and pull open these tabs that cover the calves and rotate them all the way around. And they go into this recess that's perfectly designed for them. The instructions now say to peg both legs together and work out the rest of the transformation. I think it's a lot easier if you keep them separate for the most part. So the next part, which was not very clear in the instructions as well, is so if these were supposed to be originally up like that, if you didn't bring them down for the heel, what you're going to need to do is just put your finger in and rotate it to about here, and that will give you the ability to actually move the wheels in and out. And you want to move the wheels out completely, and you'll actually hear it click Like, you're gonna think you're done, but you're not. You have to keep pulling. And then you'll hear that very loud snap. From here, you can rotate the rest of the way. And just be careful when you rotate it through. These ankle pieces, ankle tilts, have to be completely straight or you run into interference, just like I did. So again, pull the wheel all the way out. Again, you make sure you have it in a position that allows the wheel to freely move. You can't push it in all the way, you just want to pull it out a little bit. And then you rotate it all the way down. Like so. And now that will give you enough space in the lower legs where that you can, you're gonna basically accordion the white pieces, like so. Those are gonna go all the way in. Do that for both legs. And then this is where I find it the easiest to peg both halves of the legs together. Coming back to the front, making sure that the spoiler is also tabbed in. The back blue pieces are tabbed in. And there's kind of tabs here, not really tabs, but pieces that kind of help you align. And again, just make sure that these knees are completely recessed all the way in, because that will reduce the gap that you have between the front half and the back half of the car. And then you're going to want to rotate the spoiler to about here. Last but not least, this piece has a tab that goes into that section there. Just tab that in. And here we have, oh, not yet. And then last but not least, you're going to want to pull the car seat back and it'll tab into place. And here we have Invisible or Mirage in alt mode. And he looks really nice. The problem I have with this guy on mine is that the wheel mechanisms might be damaged on mine for some reason, because this back wheel, while it rotates, this one doesn't. It's very sticky. And also, both of them do not rotate like straight. They wobble. Like they don't. It doesn't bother me all that much that it wobbles, but this one bothers me that it doesn't spin. I don't know why that's the case. I think it might be with just mine though. I haven't been able to figure out why mine won't rotate though. Okay, so here is his alt mode. Let's take a look at it from the front, the side, the back, the other side, the top, and the bottom. So the transformation wasn't hard, but again, be mindful of the couple places that I mentioned because they don't really explain it that clearly in the instructions. Some people did say that this takes a lot of cues from the classics Mirage transformation, and I never had that figure, but I did look at some of the transformation videos, and the bottom half definitely takes a lot from that figure. But it's also really cleverly done, so I don't knock it, DX9 for doing that. So let's take a look at Mirage and see if he can actually fit in MP10's trailer, because I always like to try to show that off, because most of the Takara Tomy figures show that. He actually doesn't fit in. Unfortunately, and I actually don't expect him to in terms of scale. It's not that he's off from scale, it's that Formula 1 cars typically are pretty wide, wider than a traditional race car, so, or even a regular car. So I didn't expect him, or don't really need him to fit in MP10's trailer, at least for me. Okay. Give me a quick break and I will compare him to Wheeljack in alt mode, since he's also a race car, even though he's not Formula 1. Sorry for that quick break, everyone. So I wanted to bring out Wheeljack, who looks quite nice. And from the front view, so front comparison. So he's, aside from his wheels, he is actually thinner than Wheeljack. Here, let's do that. But again, that's what you would expect. The proportions of this old style F1 would be thinner at the body and then wider at the wheels. And obviously a much lower profile overall. Okay. One thing that I should have shown earlier, which I forgot, is that in the instructions they show that you can flip the car seat down and make use of the shoulder cannon in this mode as well. Which kind of looks funny. You have it kind of at the front part, but I guess it's nice that they have some amount of storage for the gun in alt mode. I'll never display like this, but you have that option. The other gun, I don't see any easy way to do it. I guess you can do the same thing, but you won't be able to store both at the same time. Alright, so as far as alt mode goes, I really like it. The only thing that bothers me is this kind of hole on the side here. I'm not sure why that needed to be there, but it does kind of break up the look of the figure. Again, it does roll really nicely. Except for my one wheel, but again, it's not going to really bother me. I'm not going to be racing him around too much. So let's go ahead and get off into from alt to robot transformation and close out with final thoughts as usual. So the first thing we're going to do is go up and unpeg this little piece here, flip that up, and then we're going to work our way down to the bottom. You're going to want to pull out the leg a little bit, and then you can actually pull out the entirety of the legs. Again, I find it easier to work with the legs in two pieces, so I split it as soon as possible. Alright, and my hips already came down a bit. They were tapped in, but you can do that really whenever you want. As far as the back, again, you're going to want to rotate this up, and that'll give you enough clearance to collapse the wheels. And if you wanted to again use the wheels for a heel, you're just going to want to rotate those back a little bit until they kind of squeeze the back fender, or wheel well actually. Go ahead and go onto the inside of the leg and rotate these back panels all the way to fill in the legs. You're going to want to rotate the hips all the way forward at the same time bringing the legs back down. At this point you can, if you want, since we're already down here, you can split this piece. Now dealing with the arms, you're going to want to rotate, or I find it easier to rotate, but you can pull up the white pieces. Let's rotate this up just a little bit. Unpeg the white pieces and work out the arm like so. And again, I work it that way so I don't cause some interference. I'll show it from the front again. So I don't, so you run into interference if you try to go straight out. So rotate at the shoulder first and then bring the shoulder up. And bring the forearms around. At this point you can rotate the hips. Oh, sorry, I rotated the arms the wrong way because I didn't rotate the hips earlier. You can go ahead and reach in and pull out the fists on either side. It's easy to grip on the thumb to pull it out. So that's what I do to get the thumb to come out, the fist to come out. Okay, so for the upper body, we're going to unpeg the black wheels. We're going to rotate the arms up and then rotate the entirety of the shoulders down, like so. Okay, let's rotate up again. From here, you're going to want to reach in and get these ab sections or oblique sections out. Then deal with the fender, close up the fender. You can push this through the car seat. And when you rotate through, the fender is going to go through that hole that was made by the car seat moving forward. And then head will reveal itself as well. And then you want to push the obliques back in. Otherwise you'll see a gap if you leave them out. And then again, we'll go ahead and peg in the shoulder cannon and throw in the gun. But yeah, that's it. It's much easier to get back to robot mode, a lot less to concern yourself with in terms of, oops, sorry, I didn't point the toes. To concern yourself with than getting, or at least look out for, than when you go into alt mode. So final thoughts on DX9's D03 Invisible. I really like him. I think as far as whether he has a place in your Masterpiece collection, I would say absolutely, for sure. He not only looks really nice in both modes, he is the proper scale. His quality is equal or higher, I would say, than that of Takara Tomi's figures. The plastic quality is really, really solid. I think better than Takara Tomi's. Nice, cool use of chrome in the engine sections here, some parts of the front, the fender, and the spoiler. Really nice. It's really quality chrome. And the wheels being that tacky wheels that you expect from Formula One racers. That's really great. There are some sufferings from the hollowness here and here. Really can't really give a pass to any figure around this side that's supposed to be Masterpiece that doesn't have arm covers. Again, Bumblebee does it, but Bumblebee is also way smaller. The legs hollowness, not too bad. Definitely not as bad as, you know, Prowl, Masterpiece Prowl, or anything like that. And again, the styling is just very similar. The paint quality is overall pretty good. I have some paint blemishes here and there, but nothing to get bent out of shape over. The stylings of the arms and the hands, the gun, the shoulder cannon, they're all really, really, really similar to the Masterpiece style. So I like that. Head sculpt, I'll give it a pass. I think it's a unique take, so that's fine. It's not exactly what I wanted, but pretty good. And articulation-wise, he's really, really great. So I really like this figure. I think you should pick him up if you are worried about another company doing this, either another third party or Takara Tomy. I don't think you should be worried all that much, in the sense that you'll probably really be happy with this guy. And if another one comes out, you can see if you like that one better, but I know you won't be disappointed with this figure. Okay? If you like the video, please give it a thumbs up or subscribe somewhere around here. If you have any questions or comments, please leave it in the comment section below. I did want to mention one more time that we are running a contest. Toy Dojo and I are running a contest giveaway. That video was posted the other day, so check out the link below so that you can check out how to enter and what the prize is going to be for that. Very excited about that. It's a very cool prize in the Masterpiece scale. So if you haven't watched the video, you can go ahead and find out what that is. But yeah, that'll be running for the next month or so until the 20th of January is when we'll be announcing the winner. Okay? That's it for today, everyone. Have a good one.